2023 has started with darkness, but fear not, for there is light at the end of the tunnel. Kowser's Power Cup is here. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ultrazim, and joining me is Babs for our very first look at the first competition of 2023. It is the Power Up Cup, and we're going to be jumping straight into tonight's action with a team very dear to my heart, Thomas More College, where I'm a teacher. These are my guys getting to jump in here and taking on Cryptic, one of the new teams. Babs, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm just so excited for, finally some calls Overwatch. It's been a long January.
That's right? Is that, we haven't really seen big cups. We've only had the Kiriko Cup last year, getting to see Overwatch 2, and now we get to see 2023. And by the looks of it, Kowser's setting up for lots of big tournaments. So far, starting it off with 8,500 rands worth of prize pools. And before we waste any time, we're going to be getting straight into this one. We've got some teammates to work around, some load shedding to work around. So we'll give you a full rundown of the tournament in a little bit later. But we're going to be getting into our first match, Thomas More versus Cryptic. Now, Babs, I don't know about you, but I'm keen to see a lot of new people. Overwatch 2 has brought kind of a resurgence to the game, don't you think?
Yeah, no, it's definitely something that was needed and something we like to see. A lot of new people joining the Discord server every day, new people looking for teams. We have the Pugs teams going, and I think Cryptic is one of them, actually. Yeah, so a lot of new players in the game today.
Exactly, right? You say Cryptic, one of the new teams. I actually don't recognize any of these players. Naku, FaZe Malcolm, Crazy, Zujin, and Ghost ZA. None of them really having made a name for themselves or coming out in Overwatch 1. Thomas More, on the other hand, a bunch of school kids coming together. What a way to show the next generation of what's coming up here for Overwatch 2. Nethermat on that tank role, Shadow and Super BH. Super BH actually on the tank role. I should know this. Nethermat and Shadow taking on the DPS, and Kidikong and Mole on the support. And so, not a lot of competitive experience between these two teams.
Yeah, no, a lot of new faces to the scene completely, and I think that's good. It's nice to see two new teams matching up. It's like to see the innovation they bring to the scene. Sometimes when there's lots of old players in the game tends to get stale. So when there's new teams who don't have a lot of competitive experience, I think it makes the game more interesting.
Oh, it's going to be very interesting. That's the beauty of Overwatch 2 as well as a whole is this is a new scene in South Africa. We haven't gotten to see what any of the metas are because we've only had one cup, and that one forced Kiriko, one of the newest characters, to be a part of it. Now we've still got to see how this meta is going to kind of ease itself out. 5v5 instead of 6v6 changes the game a lot. So many new role passives. Anything that's really been sticking out to you as we go to Lijiang Tower for our first map?
Yeah, so for the first 2-3 months of Overwatch 2, we've had the game really dominated by Sojourn as a character. She's one of the new DPS added, and she was just so strong in her one-shot capabilities. So she's been dominating the game for the past few metas, actually. I'm not sure if there were patch notes released yesterday. I haven't had the time to look, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot more Sojourn Mercy in the coming tournament.
Very excited to see that. Of course, Sojourn, like you say, a very powerful character, very quick kill capabilities. If we look at the rest of the evening, King's Row going to be coming up, an old favorite for South Africa. Shambali Monastery, the latest map to be added to the game. Esperanza, also a new map that you may not have seen before if you are new to Overwatch, or an old fan that's returning towards it. And then if it gets to that point, Ilios Evening, one of the changes to an old favorite back to that control point. But Lijiang Tower, starting us off in Dawn. Normally we used to see that night map. I love Lijiang when it comes to control point maps. If you guys are new to Overwatch in general, if this is the first time you're ever watching an Overwatch tournament, maybe you're joining in to see your friends playing their new game, or maybe you're one of the parents or teachers from Thomas More, getting to see what these new kids are up to. That's the thing. Cricket, soccer, you can go watch on the side of the field, but we would like to bring you what it means for kids to play right now. Each of these different maps has a different objective behind it. The first one we're going to is otherwise known as the King of the Hill, central point that the two teams going to be fighting it out for. Right now we're starting our night markets. The big tower in the center of your screen going to be the one where the team that's last on it can start building up percentage. First team to get to 100% wins. It does not count up though, or at least you can't finish the map when there is someone from both teams on it. So going to be an interesting start. Martin. How do you feel about this? I mean, we see one of the teams there, Thomas More, instantly picking out the Sojourn that you were talking about, but seeming to be quite a different meta comp coming out there from Cryptic.
Yeah, we see the Sojourn and the Kiriko as the only two Mura picks in this comps. I'm curious because when you're playing Overwatch as a well-experienced player, this map normally always has a Symmetra, so you can TP to point and hold down the guard. So it's really fun to see the new teams take on the map and how they go around with their decisions around comps.
Very exciting to see, and a Reaper a big part of this. Super BH definitely going for that brawl style from Thomas More on blue, where they want to get into the face, do lots of damage. It's going to be very difficult to offset them when they get to point, and that's immediately what Thomas More decides to do. Take that positional advantage and force now this Cryptic side to come to them, and a beautiful push off the edge sends Ghosts plummeting to their death. That's going to make it a little bit harder now for the new pro team to come in here. With a bit of a split fight now, someone like a Mei, you really want to get in there, get to use those icicles to try and get some good damage there, use the wall to block off the points, but it does not matter, it does not help when you're standing on the outside kind of poking in at this stage.
Yeah, Cryptic has a very weird composition. It feels almost like a hybrid. You know, the Moira, the Mei is more like a dive composition. A brawl composition, whereas the Sojourn, D.Va, and Kiriko are more like a poke and engage composition.
Well, starting off this fight now with both of the Sojourns going down there, a little bit of a flank attempt. They even followed up by that damage orb coming out of the Moira, but still no real big coalescence, no big clashes between the two teams right now. Super BH taking a lot of damage, and in fact the Reaper gonna get walled off there, making healing a little bit more difficult, but so tanky and understanding their limits, being able to come back to the team. So far, Thomas More not really putting a foot wrong now, managing to get up to 50% already and only losing 2 or 3 kills. This is a big play. Super BH goes forward, gets icicled off, gets walled off, and decides to pop that ultimate, gets the fortification boost towards damage mitigation, and actually turns the table on them, pushes what could have been a dangerous situation for Thomas More.
Yeah, Thomas More just playing to their advantage, you know, playing around the point, playing around the Orisa, letting the Orisa take the charge.
Well, there's a lot of healing going out now for Thomas More, losing that Anna and Nethermat going to fall shortly afterwards. That D.Va bomb onto the center of the point, a great placement. The rest of Thomas More kind of try to push off there. There's still 3 of them around, and they're deciding to re-engage right now, losing Shadow in the background as well. Zujin being taken out from the side of Cryptic means that there is going to be less healing, but popping that overclocking there from the rest of Cryptic kind of secures the rest of the fight for the first time.
Yeah, that was really well played from Cryptic. Like, they threw the D.Va bomb in, even though it didn't get like more than 1 kill. It really gave them the position on the point that they needed and pushed the Orisa and the rest of her team off of the point.
Now we see the Nano Boost coming out there, but the Nano Boost, Super BH, the only one who's made onto the point. The rest of the team kind of cut off by this blizzard there. Kidikong getting frozen up, but no one else being able to come through. Super BH doing such a good job of somehow shoving the entire team from Cryptic off that point, meaning no one could really capitalize on that split fight. And Thomas More take back the fight.
That was a really good Mei ult from FaZe Malcolm, but the Kiriko on the side of Thomas More was just so good. I saw a really clutch Suzu that unfroze at least 2 of their teammates, which just led to the Orisa getting the support she needed and led to them winning the fight over there. Well played from the support player.
Now we see big ultimates coming out there. Shadow starting it off with the overclock. We do see both Nethermat and Kidikong also having ultimates if they want to. They've got 98% overtime here. Just need to push the whole of Cryptic off for as long as possible. Nethermat decides to clear the area. Doesn't need to get the kills. Does clean up the baby D.Va. And that's all they wrote. Thomas More off to a good start.
Yeah, Thomas More seemed to really have the upper advantage when it comes to just understanding how their comps work, understanding how the different heroes work together. I think I'd like to see Cryptic come up with a change of comp, maybe switch out the D.Va, maybe switch out the Moira, just for something a little more versatile.
Yeah, I must admit, looking at that team comp, it didn't really strike me straight away what the game plan was for Cryptic. You know, when you put a Sojourn in there, you're going for long-range damage. When you're going for a D.Va, you're going for someone who can get in there and mitigate a lot of damage. But then you gotta go to Mei in the middle of that, where you're not going brawl, you're not trying to separate off a fight and isolate someone, and you don't really have a lot of burst potential out of that, or you're kind of hoping someone like Zujin's going to be able to get those big picks with the Suzus.
Yeah, I think switching the D.Va for the Orisa is probably like a great pick because now the comp comes together. It's a new Orisa. It's not the Orisa we're used to with double barrier. This Orisa is very brawly, very in your face. I think that can work well with the Mei and the Moira.
Now the may just use to kind of split off here, get around towards the point. We see Cryptic taking a little bit more of aggressive angle on this low ground, but great positioning. This is kind of where you want to be if you're Thomas More, on the high ground, firing down these narrow corridors, poking, prodding. We do see their Cryptic trying to take control of this point now. They've got their mirror of their Orisa there from the last round, but Super BH going onto that Ramacha, very dangerous character, the latest addition to Overwatch, and you can see it being used to such efficacy. Both that long-range damage and being able to take the close-up fights with the punches means he's able to clean up the whole fight, and once more, Cryptic having no answer to the aggression from Thomas More.
Yeah, our first game and our first Ramatra pick. This is great. Ramata's a very chaotic tank, so I think playing against newer players, it's very great because there's a lot going on when you're around him. You know, he has his shift ability where he turns into Doom first 2.0. He has a shield, he has long range. He's a very complex tank, and I think that's Thomas More taking advantage of that.
Yeah, they understand this new character. They've gotten to grips with it very quickly, and you can see not wanting to push too forwards, understanding the shield's out means we don't have as many resources as we'd like. And so backing up slightly towards the point, now content to just push backwards, and Super BH goes into the Nemesis forms, rushes forward, starts pummeling into it. Ghost going to be the first victim of that. Shadow gets the space as well to take out the counterpart on the other Sojourn. And Super BH with no fear whatsoever, charging out into the open, and it seems to be working. Thomas More up to 50% already.
It's just so well played from the tank player on the side of Thomas More. You know, he knows when to engage in his Nemesis form, he knows when to push forward, he knows when to pull back, he knows when to drop shield to help his team recover. He's just managing his resources so well, and now he has a great ultimate to work with.
Man, that is true, 100%. This Annihilation living up to its name. But it is going to have to be Thomas More trying to survive through this Diva. Oh, they all managed to avoid it for now. Nethermat going down in the middle of that. But still, 4v4 is the fight coming out here. We will see Cryptic being able to re-engage quickly enough. They've lost their Diva mech, effectively reducing their tank to nothing. And it means Super BH being able to go in the front line. Zujin picking up a nice kill with that. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten what the thing is called now. What are the kunais? Right.
Yeah, their Matra ult is just so good. Like, he was so low, Super was so low getting in there, and he just stayed alive in his ult with his shielding ability up and was able to survive, allow his team to recover. He got his heals up, and they pushed the rest of Cryptic backwards. Well played from the side of Thomas More.
Very good. I'm gonna try be as unbiased as possible, ladies and gentlemen. I said at the beginning here that unfortunately I do have a little bit of an invested interest into it, seeing my team doing so well, and you can see Super BH there going down to 80 HP on the Orisa out of 550, has the confidence in the teammates to back it up, and manages to pull out that good victory, use the aggression so well, push forwards, always backed up by the team. And it means one round goes to the side of Thomas More. Any last thoughts on that round before we go to a quick break there?
Yeah, I don't think Cryptic didn't play bad at all. I've seen some good plays, you know, some good walls from the May. I've seen each Kiriko get a good pick. I think the issue with Cryptic is more on the composition building, and I'd like to see them shift away from the Diva. I think Diva might be a comfort pick for their tank player, and if they do play the Diva, maybe they switch up the May a little, or switch out for an Ana or something, just to help the Diva, you know, compensate for, you know, her diving ability. You know, if the Ana is in the backline healing the Diva, then I think she'd be more effective.
Yeah, 100%. There's no obvious targets that you're trying to do big damage mitigation. There's no Pharah coming out there. There's no Winston diving in that you're going to chew through, and you're kind of left without a real purpose for now, but it's going to be interesting. Cryptic going to have a little bit of time now to chat through things, try gather their heads, and come up with the strategy. Of course, control centers never dictate the entire matchup, so it's going to be up to King's Row, obviously a comfort pick for both of these teams when we go out there, and it's going to be interesting. Do we see the Ryan matchup? Is there going to be a Zarya coming out there? Or are these teams quite confident in what they're doing? We'll find out just after this. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being patient with us. Right now, that map was a little bit quicker than we expected, so we were going to actually swap over that power at the end of the second game. And what a second game it's going to be. If you're just joining us now for the first time, I'm Ultraism, and next to me is Bubs here for ZA Overwatch's first Power-Up Cup of 2023.
Yeah, for our first match, having two new teams with two new players, it's been so much fun to cast. I'm really excited for how the rest of this game goes.
Yeah, 100%. And what do you think about the next generation coming up here? Of course, Thomas More, the school team that we've said, made up of everyone under the age of 18. And Cryptic, you say, comes out of the six-mans, the Pugs?
The Pugs team, yeah. So for this tournament, we had an initiative where we invited a bunch of new players to the scene who weren't really in teams yet, and we as Kausa put them together in different teams of the varying levels and very experience in the game. And we put them together for them to experience the the fun side of Overwatch, the competitive side of Overwatch, just the side with a lot more juice to it,
A little bit of juice to us. I like that, right? Is at the end of the day, I play way too much solo queue when it comes to Overwatch, and that's not the way that you should be playing it. You got to get some friends together, you got to get a team together, and only when you start actually trying to figure out how to work as a team do you realize what it means to play this game and why this game is so good. So it's very nice to see all of these new teams. If you guys are watching it and you have an interest in this, if you've never got to play competitively, definitely get onto that Discord. Make sure you can get some friends around you and come join us on the next tournaments.
Yeah, no, Overwatch competitive is so very different to the solo queue experience. I cannot stress enough about how much of a different game it feels like. And if there's anything that can show us that, it's the map King's Row. King's Row has been the best map for competitive Overwatch in the history of Overwatch. Since 2016, King's Row have been played with multiple different comps, multiple different playstyles, and just everything around that.
Okay, so what Babs, that was a very confident best map. Obviously the most popular map in South Africa, but why do you think it's the best? King's Row just feels like home sometimes. Like it's the map where you play the Ryan comp, even if Ryan doesn't work. It's the map where you're getting Maywalled every third fight. It's a great map to experience the goods and the bads of Overwatch, and I think that just makes it the best map we have. Oh, the goods and the bads. I think there's nothing worse than being the tank running through and being like, my team is right behind me, and then you hear that icicle, that just sound of doom behind you going, there is nothing I can do. I just got outplayed. There is absolutely no comeback from that. No matter what your team does, no matter what you do, you just cry.
Yeah, no, the small choke points, the basically you're forced to push through. It's very advantageous to Mei and Brawl comps in particular. But that doesn't mean you can't play other comps. I know competitively in the Overwatch League, Contenders, and even Apex, we've seen dive comps on King's Row. We've seen double shield on King's Row. We've seen a lot of different comps about King's Row, and I think that adds to the appeal to the map. Everything is viable in some way.
Yeah, 100%. And I must admit, since Overwatch 2's introduction, I have seen the introduction of so much. There hasn't really come out. We did talk about certain characters certainly making a dominant appearance there. The fact that someone like Sojourn is so good because they can do that consistent damage, has the utility, has the mobility, and that obvious one-shot potential means that they are so powerful. And so we're going to get to see then, I'm almost certain about it. Cryptic did show us earlier that they are not afraid to run the Mei. In fact, they did favorite in both of the Lijiang Tower maps. So very, very good. And then Thomas More having a lot of variety so far, especially Super BH, that very aggressive player leading that front charge. If he does go up against a Mei, that could come back and bite him quite quickly.
Yeah, a Mei is the best way to punish an aggressive tank, especially on King's Row because of how small the choke point is. So if FaZe Malcolm, can get ready with coordinating his walls with the rest of his team, I think Super H is going to have to change his playstyle a little bit and just try and work a little more passive and play more with his team.
This should be interesting. So far, neither team really locking anyone. Gives us a little bit more time to theory craft. We are going to be seeing A little bit of a favorite map, of course. Thomas More being on the defense, so they've got to guard against this big open area here at the front. If you guys are new again, I like to just break it down. Beginning of a new year, beginning of a new season, got a lot of new players. This is what we call a hybrid map. First step for the attacking team is that they have to follow their little red line to the big shiny point, and they have to stand on that ticket up to 100%, which unlocks the payload. That payload then moves through the rest of the map, and they have to get to 2 more checkpoints to complete the map. The entire point of the defenders is just to wear out the time. Attackers get as far as possible, and if traditionally, we do see them capturing this first point. So, looking into this, not managing to go on that Widowmaker, deciding to take that high ground there, takes a shot and gets an instant pick onto Shadow. Such an obvious and such a formidable lineup to go here on Kings Row. Obvious favorite. Super BH now has to hold that choke point on the Ramatra, going straight back towards that. Zujin and Ghost coming out with pretty standard Kings Row supports there, and no one really contesting Knock on this top high ground now. Everyone kind of just holding back, but it's going to be up to see how Cryptic is able to push through. They've got the they've got the Sigma to try and push through there. Nethermats takes a bit of a dirt nap thanks to the tracking ability of the Moira right now. Super BH going a little bit ham, going crazy, runs straight into the 4 of them, and it pays off. Manages to take out FaZe Malcolm now in the slightly weaker form, but gets up that annihilation so quickly in this, able to go through, and as long as he stays within the range of enemies, going to keep that running for as long as possible. In fact, it was crazy trying to rush in there and actually not respecting just how powerful that new ultimate is.
Yeah, Cryptic went from having a very bad comp to a great comp. I mean, the Sigma with the sniper, a very typical Overwatch map, and I think they're playing it really well. They're just lacking a little bit on the damage front, which means even though TMC lost the player, they were able to hold on and not get pushed on.
Going to have to see if Cryptic can do something a little bit more now. Swapping off that Widowmaker now onto the Ashe. Mole getting a good pick up there at the beginning. That's surprising. Just standing out a little bit in the open. So far, no real push through there. But a couple of ultimates coming online for both sides there. Ghost obviously having the coalescence. Really nice way to start up a fight. And you're going to see it straight away now. Is going to lead in with that. Ooh. Tries for the Gravitic Flux now. Trying to catch people around the outside. But doesn't get anyone in that still. The aggression comes out from Cryptic. They're pushing forward there. Nethermat trying to fight them toe-to-toe. Genji, not a very tanky character though. And it is going to be second attempt coming out with Providence for the side of Cryptic.
That was so well played from Cryptic. They didn't force their way through. They didn't push anything. They stayed back. They wait to get picks. And they played to the advantages of their comp. Oh, nice window as well.
Oh, and they even extended now, just a late recontest coming out here from Thomas More, trying desperately to make something happen. That is not a good use of the ultimate, though. That tactical visor coming out at the end of an already won fight, with Thomas More not actually delaying the payload at all. A little bit expensive, but, you know, at the end of it, they did feed a lot of ultimate charge from Thomas More.
Yeah, that's not. They lost the visor, which is it's a little bit sore, but it's not the worst thing because now they've pushed past the arc point. The arc point is probably the most defendable point on Kings Row second, and Cryptic were able to push past that very easily, actually. And I think they're playing really well. They're playing to their comp's advantages, they're playing to their mechanical advantages, and they're taking this as they go.
100%. Now we see the middle of streets phase. Yeah, a big part of it is going to be this Annihilation ultimate. Super BH with complete confidence rushes in, but losing a lot of the HP. Somehow, once more, manages to stay alive through this and gets a 4K out of it.
Oh, Super BH just so good under Ramatra. Like, the perfect timing of his using his ult. You know, timing his ult after he just ends his Nemesis shift. It's just so well played from the tank player of Thomas.
Oh, that is cheeky. I cannot believe it. That entire fight's dynamic could have been different if he did get chewed through. That last 20 or 30 HP was all it takes. But Mole, Kidakong, not a big healing output from these two supports, and somehow they managed to do it. Now Bob in a dangerous position, but what a boop back out of there. That could have been a horrible place for Thomas More there. And now comes the Immortality Lamp, kind of forced out there, and it's in the wrong position instead. Nethermat going to go into the back line, but meets up against the Bash, and FaZe Malcolm, having had enough for this, decides to go for the highest DPS character in the game and leads this team now, even with Super BH standing at the edge there, takes 2 kills there. What is happening there? Somehow Cryptic does take an amazing fight, but they still kind of push back. They will regain control of the payload, though.
Yeah, there was a lot of ults used in that fight. Most on the side of TMC, and Cryptic did well in like buffering themselves. They stayed back a little, they played their paces, and they were able to wait out the Genji Blade, bait him into the backline, and deal with him there. It's really good and experienced play from Cryptic, which is very different to what we saw from them in the first map.
Yeah, you can see the inexperience from TMC at this stage coming out, where they're not really taking the fights in the correct order. You know, they're not taking them in a good place and using their ultimates in a logical fashion. Now they have managed to contest, though. They've had to. Somehow, Super BH has this Annihilation back up, and that apparently all that they need. Player of the match so far picks up another 4K.
I don't know how he does it. It's just every time I pop it, I die. But he's just getting in there, getting 4Ks every fight, and his ulting and decision making is just so good under Ramatra.
And that's all they needed, right? They only had one ultimate. Kid Kong managed to build up the Kitsune Rush at the end of that, but they don't even need it right now. And I think as the manager, the coach for Thomas More, I have to say, all I really want for these players at the end of it is to kind of give them a stepping stone into maybe professional play afterwards. And I'm putting it out now. Any orgs looking to pick up a complete Chad of a main tank? Super BH maybe looking for it in the next year or two, looking to join a main team. It's going to be up to them clashing again here. The Bastion ultimate coming out from the back line. FaZe Malcolm decided to try zone off a couple of players. Doesn't get any kills right now. Not even doing a lot of damage, and there's no one to really try and capitalize on that. Instead, it's up to Super BH. He's gone back into the front line. Needs to be careful, though. The turret form of the mobile turret form of the Bastion trying to chew through some damage, though. Everyone stays alive behind that Ramatra shield, and it's now up to this Thomas More side to try and re-engage. They've lost Shadow at the beginning of the fight, but he has an ultimate back up. Cut down straight away, though. Super BH, for once, not going to be able to use that to full extent of it. Amazing that he's able to bring it back in the middle of this, in the middle of a single fight. But it is given Cryptic a little bit of space now. They've got their last fight. Overtime clicking down there. They're on the verge of being able to close out this point. They need to try and survive through this Genji Blade, though. Nethermat picks up one. Kidikon going down there, and just the single pick off. So far, an even fight there. Shadow going to be coming up for the first one to really close out this fight. And it is Cryptic pushed off halfway through the street's face.
Yeah, that was an interesting fact, because even though Super BH died up one kill into his Nemesis form, he was able to pick off one of the supports on the side of Cryptic, which dropped his sustain capabilities by a lot. And then the rest of the team just played well, you know, playing slow, playing back a little, and taking advantage of when they see an opportunity. The Kiriko on the side of Thomas More, a bit of an unsung hero. I've seen some clutch Suzus all game, and that Bastion ult could have been really bad if he didn't time that perfectly, which he did, and that probably saved his team an entire point.
That's a good point, actually. Kidikong, very well known, tried to convince me previously that his main skill was on the Tracer, but I think we can all agree doing a fantastic job, a better job on that Kiriko. Again, Kiriko being the second newest character to the Overwatch roster here. I think, right, Kiriko came out after Sojourn, right?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was after Junker Queen. It was Sojourn, Junker Queen, Kiriko, Ramatra.
Okay.
Kiriko, obviously, my favorite of them.
Aww.
Just really the coolest.
Very versatile character, though, right? Very good at putting out damage as a support. That Suzu being such a game changer, literally being able to cleanse off an entire team, make them invulnerable for a second, or for almost a second there, means that you really can save someone in the most dire straits there, and use it, like you said, a couple of times, countering out big ultimates, keeping Super BH alive when he's overextended. Now we see Thomas More coming out back. They've decided to also try to get the early pick from Shadow, and Shadow does manage to get it out there. He was the first one to fall to that Widowmaker previously. And what's interesting to see here, it is Cryptic trying to match Ramatra for Ramatra, and they've managed to pull out that dominance, taking out Super BH in the beginning, but instantly paying with their life afterwards.
Yeah, Cryptic has the advantage in terms of compositions, because he has a lot more healing on the side of his side, but he decided to play out of the healers LOS, and he got picked off.
Big part of that as well was Zujin going down at the beginning there to Shadow meant that the Baptiste, the big immortality field, the big healing was not available there. And Zujin again once more caught out of position, and that is the big thing that you need to stay behind your tank, give them the opportunity to re-engage, use that immortality field for the real desperate fights to turn it, but not there. means that no one from the DPS has an opportunity to really burn through anyone here from Thomas More. Kidakon going down to a nice flanking knock at the end there. But it is Super BH once more dictating what the front line is here. Naku still trying to find his way around the outside back into this fight while the rest of his team has to flee for the hills.
Yeah, it's not a clean win for TMC, and I think Cryptic still have a way into this fight. Oh, but they lose their DPS.
I love how you say that. Before they lose anything else, as Naku gets taken off at the backs on the side there, just no real cohesion coming out from Cryptic, and that's kind of what you were expecting to see from one of these new teams.
Yeah, they were just put together like a week ago. They haven't had much time to play together, so I think what we're seeing from them is really good. I think we're seeing a lot of promising from them, and when they get more time to play together, craft comms, we'll see them play way better as a team.
Yeah, especially against what the sort of lineup they're going into. Something like this Ramatra ult, people have not had the time to get used to it just yet. You don't understand how to disengage from this fight, and you've got to disengage as a team. We see once more Thomas More pushing forwards now so aggressively because they've got the confidence, and definitely a more cohesive lineup now. I would like to see Cryptic, who've obviously got individual skills. They've been able to take a couple of really nice jewels. They obviously understand their characters very well, but Overwatch at the end of the day, a team game, and so far Thomas More just outstripping their opponents. Second win in a row.
Yeah, I think Cryptic falling victim to the new team curse, where they just haven't played together enough to work on that cohesion. They've played really good individually. I've seen some nice flanks from the Soldier player. We've seen some nice shots from the Widow player. Even the Tank player has had his chances to shine. But it's the lack of cohesion, especially in a Ramatra comp or a Diva comp, is really gonna catch you out.
Yeah, 100%. Again, there we see down to 23 HP. I guess that much from Super BH in the player of the game, but managing to go through, and the cohesion of the Thomas More side means that they've got the Suzu there to bail him out at the end. They've got the healing always pumping in there. They've got the DPS so that all the space from that Super BH is making being pivotal there and paying off in translating into kills. So a really nice start from Thomas More, managing to clean out King's Row. We are going to be going to Shambhali Monastery. I think we are going to take another little quick break to get that power back online. It's been 2 quick maps, and I'm sure you guys have been enjoying the action. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more of it, at least one more game. But it is, of course, a best of 5. First to 3 for Thomas More, who are on the verge of that victory. One more map is all they need. Or can Cryptic find something in this next break to be able to turn around? We'll find out just after this. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have joined you now with Thomas Moore currently 2-0 up against the newly formed Cryptic team. And I must admit, I'm enjoying seeing this. You know, a lot of action coming out here and a lot of growth that we can definitely see. I'm Ultraism. Joining me is Babs for this. And Babs, enjoying getting back into competitive Overwatch, my friend?
Yeah, it feels good, you know, seeing Ramatra in the first game playing such a pivotal role for both teams. You know, both teams had their success in the hero. It feels good, you know. Cause Overwatch back and strong as always.
I must admit, you say someone like Ramatra making such a big difference, and it's quite cool to see the difference from Overwatch 1, where Overwatch 1 dominated by 2 tanks, whereas now we only have 1. That Overwatch 1, really looking back, was so stagnant. You know, there was lots of shields around, it was very difficult to push in, you kind of waited, planned your attack, and then had to execute it perfectly, otherwise it was kind of reset and go again. This, a lot more chaotic, a lot more free-flowing at every stage.
Yeah, you know, Overwatch 1 was really tormented by shields towards the end. You know, we had the faithful double shield comp versus Sigma, which is very stagnant, like you said. It's a very slow comp. It's very sit back and wait for things to happen comp. When in Overwatch 2, you don't really have the chance to do that. It's always in your face. You know, we have game modes like push, where you always have to be pushing towards an objective. You always have to be fighting towards an objective. And the game is so much faster. There's so much more damage. There's so much more potential to shine in every row. We've seen Kiriko's pop off in the Overwatch League. We've seen DPS players pop off like Prophet, and then we've seen tank players just completely control the game like our resident Super BH. You know, it's a very different game from what we had 6 months ago.
Yeah, Super BH actually getting a little bit of love there from Zwoom. Zwoom being one of the most popular and certainly most experienced Cowser players, tank players out there. And suddenly just recognizing this new talent, realizing that Super BH looking like me out there. I don't know if that's looking probably too overconfident or too aggressive, as Zwoom has often been criticized for being.
Yeah, you know, we love Zwoom in this community. Zwoom is, I think, the highest ranked in the entire South African community. You know, he's probably the best tank player we've ever had. He's just so good on 170 ping, 200 ping. He's just such a good player. His game knowledge, his mechanics, and getting recognition from Zwoom himself, I mean, Super VHS, something to be happy about.
Yeah, 100%. That's got to be nice if you're a new player, just being recognized so far and certainly earning a position for himself tonight. If you guys are enjoying this action, this is not the only action, of course, that we've got for you. Every week, we have a total of 13 teams that have signed up for this Cowser Power Cup. And we have 3 matches this weekend, including this one. So tonight's action, of course, Thomas More College versus Cryptic. But tomorrow night, we are also going through to a pretty fun lineup there. Typo versus Beastie Boys. Typo, a team that wanted to compete back in previous competitions, but never really got the chance to. And Beastie Boys, one of the longest standing organizations here in SSA. On Sunday, we also bring you the action XVG Ragnarok versus the newly formed Blackwatch side. Again, XVG, one of those very well experienced lineups. Both of those coming to you at about 8:30.
Yeah, this weekend is going to be really exciting. You know, we have some old players in the form of the Typo and Beastie Boys game, where we've seen a lot of experience, a lot of talented people from the community. And then we have a new game like Thomas Moore versus Cryptic, where it's almost entirely new faces who are, you know, bringing it. So it's nice to see having the old faces and the new faces on the same weekend. Yeah,
100% there. Caster bias from Ultraism from Sun Phoenix. Yeah, I'm allowed to be a little biased. I've got a lot of pride for these guys, and they're certainly doing well. If we want to jump back into this action, though, Babs, Thomas More versus Cryptic, we're going to Shambhali Monastery. Well, the newest map, in fact, coming out there, launched as well with Ramatra at the end of it. Certainly a beautiful map, and it is an escort, which means that it's just push the payload the whole way through. What is the defining feature about this for people who aren't so familiar? Babs? I seem to have lost my co-caster, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, I think we're having some connection issues.
There we go.
I'm back, yeah. So, Shambhali Monastery is a very long, there's a lot of long sightlines on this map. And
A lot of sidelines. That's what I got out of that. I hope you guys got that as well. Managing to Babs coming in and out, so we'll see if we can get him back on this. But long sidelines is certainly a very important factor that we need to talk about, with the prominence and the obvious prominence, even in this match, of the Soldier, and both teams going to come out with it straight away, having a lot of pick potential at every stage there. It seems Super BH still very content to be there on that Ramatra, being able to do so much damage and so much work with it, building up those ultimates faster than anyone I have ever seen. Incredible play from them. FaZe Malcolm trying to go back for the Bastion. A character that I actually did get to see in the European Invitationals this last week. And so has his place. And people, I don't think, give enough credits to the new reworked Bastion coming out there. Crazy going to be picking up the Sigma. Zujin going for that. Anna, again, the long sidelines providing the opportunity for healing coming out there from safety for the attacking team there. And Ghost going back onto that Moira there. Babs, I believe you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet had a heart attack for a second. But yeah, I like to see the Ana for this guy. This was a very long sideline map, and having the Ana is just so good. And Nano Bastion, I'm ready. I'm ready for the Nano Bastion.
I didn't even think about that, but that's actually a terrifying prospect. Nano Boost being able to boost up your damage resistance and outgoing damage means that you're taking already someone who's kind of chunky, kind of big and beefy there and has a lot of HP, giving them more effective HP, and the highest damage output in the game means that even Super BH in that Nemesis form going to have to watch their positioning as we come out with this. Near the mats, going back onto that Genji. So having the opportunity to reflect back onto Bastion. Kirakong once more going onto the Kiriko to be able to Suzu up the team. And Mole sticking on the Lucio on this comp, giving some mobility to the team. And again, straight away, nice, good high ground position coming out here from Thomas More. They are giving a little bit of payload progress right now. Remember, this payload has a long way to go down this entire map, so you don't have to stop it at every stage. The priority instead going to be winning the fight here for Thomas More before they have to commit. They've decided to go down to the low ground now, get Super BH within range of those big punching fists, and the sleep came out straight away. The Suzu a bit late, not needed. Instead, is Zujin unable to get out of there, probably trying to buy some space with that sleep dart. Unfortunately, gets taken out at the beginning. And now also going to fall down to Shadow at the beginning of this. So the rest of Cryptic now kind of caught out in the open. And Thomas More not really looking to back up at any stage, just content to hold this corner.
Yeah, a little unlucky for Zujin. He seems to be a more aggressive support, and it's just unlucky playing against the Ramatra comp because it's very good at punishing supports out of position. As you can see, Zujin just fighting in the front line and Super BH targeting them as much as possible.
Oh, wow. While Mole goes down at the beginning, we again once more see Super BH building up this ultimate faster than anyone else on the field. An incredible accomplishment, and decides to just run it down. The entirety of Cryptic needing to back up from that, and is given the opportunity, even though there weren't a huge amount of kills there for Super BH, it opened up that fight, turned it around, and Mole now able to reinforce here. Nethermat, the only one not present in this Thomas More lineup.
Yeah, that was an okay fight for Cryptic. They got the first pick. They got a little bit unlucky with how fast the Matra was building their ult. But they were able to get an exit frag on the side of the Genji and Nethermat. And they're going to have lots of...
This is huge, actually. The big gravitic flux coming out there. But Mole managing to get the sound barrier by jumping on the roof, actually. Hits everyone while they're still in the air. Mitigates that whole play there. Shadow still a little bit low on HP, so needing to be careful. But the whole of TMC looked healthy after that. An incredible counter play there and quickly executed means that even though there was a brilliant setup coming out from Cryptic, they don't manage to win out that fight. They're going to try to do it now. They're dumping a couple more ultimates. The Coalescence being the obvious one there from Ghost does manage to pick up the counter support there. Kirakong out of this. And so I think Thomas More going to have to be careful into this one. The Nano Boost, though, used on Knock as Knock trying to chase, but there's no one to be seen now.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a confusing ult commitment from the side of Cryptic. I'm not too sure why we use the Nano and now the Bastion and the Sojourn ult. I mean, it's working. They're getting a lot of space in the payload and they're pushing the enemy team back a little, but a bit of an overcommitment in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they could have still got that progress on the payload even without dropping all of those ultimates. So one certainly want to oscillate them. Now Thomas More has a big, easy opening back into this, dropping the Shadow Overclock ultimate on the Sojourn, and once more Super BH never afraid to bop his, considering the speed that he's able to build these things back up at. And Thomas More very cleanly retake the points.
Yeah, I think I need to like submit a complaint to Blizzard. He's charging these way too fast. I mean, that feels unnatural almost. Just so much damage and protection going out from the side of Ramatra that he has an ult basically every fight.
Every single fight. I didn't know it was possible to build these out, but obviously combining that damage from both of his forms is a great way to do this. Now we see the Bastion on the high ground, popping in damage the other way around. We do see a bit of a change coming out there, crazy coming out on the Ramatra as well. But once more, Thomas More in control of this. It's going to be difficult to even touch right now. There is going to be a late touch into this, running into Netherman, and that Dragon Blade though is going to make it even more difficult for Cryptic. Netherman picking up his third from this fight here, and the rest of Cryptic desperately trying to get something 4K there for Netherman at the end. And once more, Cryptic kind of stopped before they've made any long progress in this map.
Yeah, it feels like Cryptic have these highlight moments where they're getting these picks and they're pushing through some positions, but then they're just falling apart because of their lack of teamwork, which again, we cannot attribute to them since they've spent so little time together. And I think it will come, as they play more games together, they'll slowly work on that. But what we're seeing is they have these individual skill levels where they'll be able to push fights, they will get points, but just the cohesion on the side of Thomas More is just too much for them to push through.
Oh, 100% right there. You know, a couple of the fights, just you can pick apart the big plays, the big meta plays, the ideas that Cryptic's not coming in with right now. Dumping all of your ultimates to win a fight that's already won. We saw it in the last map. We saw it again in this map. Means you don't have a lot. And ultimates, as their name implies, kind of important at the end of the day.
Yeah, ultimate's very important, especially like because Overwatch has been decreased, the amount of players on each team has decreased in size. Even just one pick from a Bastion ult or one pick from a Nano can shift the tides of a fight so much that you don't want to use them unnecessarily. And Cryptic in that last fight, dumping a Bastion ult, a Sojourn ult, a Nano, all into an already won fight. I think that was probably the worst point for them, as they began to lose the ult economy and they began to get stormed.
Yeah. Obviously, Thomas More coached right now by the old SA professional who will be playing in his own team tomorrow night. It's Trizzle. He knows how to coach these guys, and he's probably sitting there with them going, guys, this is how much you need to win the fight. Be careful, all right? Game looks like it's good. Be careful to not waste too much there. Obviously, something that they have trained very well. And doing a good job is Thomas More there. Shadow getting an early pick out here, and Super BH once more actually flanks around the aggression that Cryptic has shown here. Pushed a little bit too far out there, and a couple of little scrappy fights being taken all over the place there. Cryptic now right in the spawn doors of Thomas More, gives them the early team fight, and once more Super BH picking up more kills than anyone else on his team.
Yeah, the cohesion on the side of Thomas More is just so great. I mean, the Lucio speed down the left flank to penalize the Sojourn and the Kiko playing high ground. It's just so well played and so well thought out. I guess you really have to give Coach Drizzle some credit for how well he's coached the team and for this how well they're executing their strats.
You're actually bringing out a good point. Mole, not obviously someone who can get a lot of big highlight reels, but that ability to read the team fights, to be able to come out there. If I'm not mistaken, Mole actually is the captain here for this Thomas More side. And so being on the support role, being on the Lucio, being able to go, right, we go in, we fight, we go this route, and then speeding everyone in at the right time, gives Super BH this ability to really push in there. He's controlling the tempo of these fights. He's maneuvering his entire team together as a unit around this, and you can see it. The execution's there. The target prioritization is there. They go on one target, and that target is dead within a second or two, meaning Thomas More in a clean 3-0 sweep and pretty dominant performance on each of these maps, going to be very happy with how they've done in their first match.
Yeah, that's just so well played, especially for a group of new players of the community to make your first game as dominant as this and to show up just quite in this way. I think all of the team should be scared. Like, the cohesion from the side of Thomas More is really good, and you know they have this X factor. I don't know if you guys heard of it, but Super BH, you know, it's just so good with the mantra, so good with his tempo, so good with pushing forward, so good knowing when to back up. I think Thomas More are going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I'm glad to hear you say that. And I agree. You know, from the biased opinion aside, everyone on Thomas More seemed to do their job. Super BH in the front line, I think we've talked enough about them. Shadow getting some good picks, whether it's on the the Sojourn, being able to use that very often. A very powerful character like that, you've got to get the value out of, and doing very well, even when he went on to the Widowmaker for just a little bit, got the key pick at the beginning of the fight that arguably won them that first point on King's Row. Nethermats coming out on Genji especially, got the 3k on the Dragonblade, and that's the sort of team play that you've got to be able to do. You mentioned Kirakong and the Suzus coming out there constantly at clutch moments, being able to reinvigorate the team, save them from dire situations, and then of course the captain Mole constantly on that Lucio, moving around the team. Just everyone understanding their purpose and doing it well right now. A great start to the season for Thomas More. And Cryptic, a great team. A really nice sign for Overwatch in South Africa, that a new set of players coming in here. First tournament experience, you're not expecting to win everyone. So I'm glad to see them here, and I do hope that they don't get discouraged by this. I was still enjoying watching them play.
Yeah, and I spoke to Blur earlier this week, and he said you can never expect to win your first game in competitive Overwatch. It's so hard. You never expect the amount of cohesion and teamwork you need. And I think this is a good wake up call for Cryptic. I think they're gonna go back. They're gonna play a little more scrims. They're gonna put a little more practicing. They're gonna get a little more playtime together. And once they do that, once they have that cohesion factor, even just a little bit, I think we'll see them fly through the rosters. Since a lot of their individual skills are so good. I mean, we've seen some flanking plays from Narco and the Soldier. We've seen some great plays from Ghost. We've even seen some great plays from their tank player. And it's just a little bit of cohesion they're lacking. And once they get a hang of how the teamwork works in Overwatch, I think we'll see them really shoot up.
Yeah, well, good luck to them for the rest of the tournament. Good luck to Thomas More as well. I think Thomas More is going to be very happy, because what you don't know, what happened behind the scenes actually, is Trizzle as the coach told them that you guys have lost the privilege of your names. Everyone in the Discord, when I jumped in there earlier, was called Walter. And so he said, once you win your first game in this tournament, then you get your names back. So welcome back to the individual players of Thomas More. You don't have to live as Walter for too much longer. And now they get to focus on their next game. And if you guys want to focus on a couple more games, like we mentioned earlier, just before this match, we have 2 more games for you this weekend. 8:30 on Saturday, 8:30 on Sunday. I'm personally going to be joining you once more on Sunday, casting that one with Sun Phoenix, and of course the game on Saturday, the Typo versus Beastie Boys, going to be a cracker of a series. That one brought to you by Blur and Fluffy. Final thoughts on the weekend, final thoughts on the tournaments there, Babs?
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to be a great weekend. We're starting off with a bang. 3 games in 3 days. I mean, this is going to be so great for just ZA Overwatch in general. It's always fun seeing how people adapt and how people change. We haven't had a proper Overwatch 2 tournament in a long time, and it's fun to see all the higher level teams and how they've crafted their comps and how they've crafted their strategies and just how creative they get. Because if there's anything ZA Overwatch has, it's our creativity. We always have the most wackiest cards, whether it's falling off a map to distract the enemy team, or getting big boosts with Lucio on overtime on King's Row. We always have that X factor and that creativity, and I'm so excited. I think we're going to see that a lot throughout this weekend.
Creativity, enjoyment, fun, high levels of play, old faces, new faces. We've got it all here. And what's important is Kowser is back, ladies and gentlemen. Load shedding can't hold us back. It might delay things a couple of times, but we will still try our best to bring you all the action. So if you've got power, come and join us. If you don't have power, I hope you have data, because I still expect you to come join us for the rest of this weekend, and of course the next couple of weeks worth of Overwatch. If you have not followed us yet, ZA Overwatch on Twitter is up there. Please go and follow them. That's where you can keep up to date with all the action. Otherwise, follow us. Babs, what's your social media handle?
You can find me on Twitter at Babs_MII.
At Babs_MII. Meanwhile, mine much easier to say, much harder to spell probably, at Altruism out on Twitter, otherwise on Facebook. And of course, big shout outs to Kowser for bringing us this. And then of course, the Peach ZA, the wonderful person bringing you the production throughout the whole weekend. Always makes this all look so pretty. It makes us look good at the end of it, doing everything from production to the observations that bring you all the action. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, without any more waffling, that brings us to the end of tonight's broadcast. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll personally see you on Sunday. And more importantly, keep playing Overwatch. It's a fun game, and it's back. Until then, cheers there.